a nice bit of follow-up here, given that Kim Jong Un did visit Suncheon Air Force Base, where these aircraft are based earlier this year in March. So it's interesting to see these aircraft so prominently featured at the parade.
And of course, Ankit, that was one of his last appearances before going missing, right, for quite some time.
Exactly, right. Oh, here we go. We have some anti-tank guided missiles coming up, looks like.
Yeah, these are actually very interesting systems, those anti-tank missiles. We saw them for the first time during the September 28 parade, 2018. And they haven't been tested yet, as far as we can tell. But it seems like these may be like a spike and loss equivalent. We know China operates such systems. These are missiles that can be fired and then flown over the horizon and then hit targets like as far as 10 kilometers away. This is speculation, of course, at this point, but it would seem to be the case. Also, these vehicles which we're seeing now, which are based on their indigenous 8x8 APC chassis, they are also new ATGM carriers. I would think these are the North Korean equivalent of the Russian Kornet, which is a very capable anti-tank missile system which we've seen introduced in the last few years. This 8x8 APC just coming into the shot right now is also entirely new. It has a anti-tank gun mounted to the turret, which seems to be based on the D30, but heavily modified. So this is a very mobile and interesting anti-tank platform, like we've seen Russia develop during the latter stages of the Cold War as well. I should also keep on commenting because a lot of new stuff coming by. These tanks, which we're seeing now, main battle tanks, they are entirely new as far as I can tell. North Korea operates basically three tank lines, two of which are of Soviet heritage, the T-55 and the T-62, which has been very much upgraded. And then starting around 2009, they introduced the Sungun tank. But these tanks over here are of an entirely new caliber. We're seeing angled armor, which suggests the turret is welded and presumably of composite armor. We're seeing the anti-tank missiles mounted to the sides instead of in bulky, awkward attachments. I'm seeing smoke grenade dischargers hidden away in the design in a manner consistent with the new Russian T-14 Armada, so they're possibly trying to mirror the aesthetics of that. The guns that are rolling into screen now are artillery, which was first shown in the 2018 parades as well. Those are entirely new self-propelled guns that they've suddenly been introducing. And yeah, you see it here on the side. I think we'd already figured that they were probably of a 155 millimeter caliber, which is very significant because that's actually a Western caliber. So that suggests some transfer of technology, possibly from China or an export variant made by Russia of their artillery. A lot of very new developments here. These are some more classic multiple launch rocket systems, the 240 millimeter rockets, which they have a lot of. They have a very large range, up to like 60 kilometers in their newest variant. These systems are dreaded because they can be upgraded to have GPS guidance and therefore strike targets in the south with pretty large warheads and pretty accurately. And the cabs on these vehicles, as you can see, are quite armored as well. And that's a new development since around 2017. They've been armoring their vehicles more extensively, making them shrapnel resistant. More of the 240 millimeter rocket launchers, this time 12 tubes. And here are some of the far longer ranged, almost strategic systems. These are of, we think, 600 millimeter. They tested a slew of them a year or two ago. These have a very long range and are 2 GPS guided. There's really no other country in the world that operates a multiple rocket system that is equivalent. We're already seeing in the distance new transporters that carry even 5 of these missiles at a time, and so those are new to this parade as well. We've so far only seen a transporter that carries 4 and then one that carries 6, which I believe we're going to see next.
Yeah, that's the KN-25 program that Kim Jong-un has been very pleased with in particular, given the recent slate of promotions for Rypyeong-chul. He was very much instrumental in overseeing this program. And I believe at one of the tests he specifically commented that this system was designed by a younger generation of North Korean weapons designers, and that Kim was particularly pleased with that. It is interesting to see the various launcher configurations, though. Notice we have tracked launchers here, better equipped for off-road operations in North Korea. Definitely an interesting array of systems going through here.
Yeah, and North Korea actually has some difficulty in producing these transporters. And the chassis you're seeing here is produced at the same factory that produces their main battle tanks. And that's part of the reason why we're thinking they probably had to suspend their main battle tank production for some time to allow for new transporter erector launchers for all of these ballistic missile systems. So this transporter we're seeing here, truck-based, is entirely new. It carries 5 missiles, 5 of the 600 millimeter missiles instead of 4 or 6. And the advantage, of course, of wheels is faster transportation across roads. Whereas a tracked chassis may be more convenient when you want to hide your abilities in rough terrain. So North Korea investing in both is significant. I think this really ensures a very extensive striking capacity for them, especially since we're seeing so many of these systems now.
Is this the Kumsong 3 surface to ship?
This is the coastal defense cruise missile, the Kumsong 3 variant, known to the U.S. as the KN-19. This was initially paraded in April 2017 and then tested later that year. It's thought to have a fairly capable upgraded seeker multimodal. North Korea recently also conducted a test of this system off their east coast.
Yeah, it even has in newest tests we've even seen it has like waypoint abilities, so you can fire a bunch of these missiles, have them hover around in the sky, and then strike all at once. And
what's this? What's this?
This looks like Pukguksong 3 submarine launched ballistic missile, which I'm actually quite pleased to see at the parade.
4. Is it Pukguksong 4A?
Okay, so this is interesting.
This is interesting.
Seems to, yeah.
4A on the cover.
4A.
Yeah, 4A it seemed. They hadn't really confirmed to us whether or not this was the Pukguksong 3 or some new development. It was mainly assumed that was the case because they hadn't really shown us the Pukguksong 3. But this may be, they have 2 new SLBM capable platforms under development, and both may be carrying different types of missiles, so that may explain that. What we're seeing now is also highly significant because this, this is a new air defense system. It's never before been shown. The radars are unlike anything North Korea has been shown before, and it seems extremely comparable to the Russian Tor missile defense system, which we did not know North Korea operated. This fills a very specific gap in their air defense capabilities, which must have been, quite sure where they could have sourced this technology. You could make the case that they got it before the sanctions era from Russia, but I would deem that somewhat unlikely. And these carriers we're seeing here are new carriers for the Pongai 5, which is like or possibly even the Pongai 6, which they hinted at having some before. They are equivalents of the Russian S-300 missile defense systems. We've seen those tested before, but never on these trucks.
That's right. And here we appear to have the return of the Pukguksong-2, the older SLBM on land, the medium-range ballistic missile, first tested in February 2017. I'm again curious to see how many launchers we have. I will be interested to return to the Pukguksong-4A because that is a materially new capability that North Korea has not hinted at, so that was quite interesting to see.
So we got 1, 2.
1, 2 up so far.
Yeah, 1, 2, 4A, I suppose, and they only showed us some blurry propaganda images of what seemed to be a tree somewhere, but we don't know if that's actually been introduced.
Right.
And presumably the big ICBM...
That looks like 4,
type.
I think. Yeah, 4.
Oh, yeah,
4.
sorry, you're counting the tells, yeah. If it's 6, that would correspond to previous parade.
This looks like some KN-23s approaching. The short-range ballistic missile first tested in 2019, first paraded in February 2018.
It's a lot of equipment.
It really is. We didn't get a good look at the number of Pukguksong-2 tells, but perhaps they'll be in the frame soon.
I might be mistaken here, but these air defense systems, those canisters are looking too long to be S-300 missiles. They, for a very long time, hinted at potentially a new air defense system, the Pongai 6, which would be some new advancement. That may be what we're looking at here, though just judging by canisters, of course, it's difficult to be sure.
I agree, those canisters do look too long for the KN-06, Pongai 5.
Yeah, that would be a very significant development, given that they haven't really developed any new anti-aircraft systems that we knew of up until this point. So they would have very clandestinely gone about this. If you know a system, if you've been able to analyze it for years, as in the case of Russian S-300, it's also far easier to combat a system because you can know what its weak points are. In the North Korean case, there's often so many question marks that really complicates the picture.
Right, and we should clarify to viewers that a lot of these very first impressions are subject to review. A lot of the times, the first view of a parade leads to assessments that require updating as more information becomes available.
Yeah, just for context,
Yeah,
we were requested by a very smart reader of the website to do this sports-style commentary, and so this live kind of commentary is new for all of us, but we hope you are appreciating it.
I do wonder if they have set aside the Pukguksong-3. It saw a single test and no return, and now we see a Pukguksong-4A. So it is possible that was a small intermediary developmental step onto a new SLBM.
Yeah, so these transporter reactor launchers haven't featured yet in parades either, but this is the tracked equivalent of those Iskander-like missiles. I should really mention Iskander-like instead of Iskander-derived missiles that we saw earlier.
So many questions coming to mind. How did they get the equipment for this? How did the North Koreans get the finance? Where did they get the technology? It's really pretty impressive, I'd say, from where we've seen previous parades.
Yeah.
These look like the canisters for the KN-24, which is another short-range ballistic missile first seen in 2019 that externally resembles the U.S. Army ATACMS short-range ballistic missile system.
Yeah, it should be mentioned though that it's a fair size larger. Like the ATACMS is a tactical
larger
system, and this really is a ballistic missile. So these transporter erector launchers are absolutely huge. It may not come across as such on screen, but standing beside them, they overtake you quite.
Is this the Hwasong 12 coming through?
Yeah,
that is
yes, they
the
are.
Hwasong 12 intermediate range ballistic missile.
Yeah, staple of past parades of the previous few years.
Tested.
These are,
It was tested 6 times in 2017, 3 times in April, first time successfully in May 2017, and then tested once in August over Japan, and then tested again in September over Japan. It's the North Korean missile to have demonstrated the longest flight range of any missile. I believe their final test in September 2017 demonstrated a range capable of striking Guam, I believe in excess of 3,500 kilometers from North Korea in the northern Pacific.
Yeah, should be mentioned though that these are all liquid fueled as opposed to the solid fueled, which we saw earlier. So that really complicates. You have to fuel these missiles with corrosive fuels right before launch, and that takes time, and it makes it easier to find them. And
these
Hwasong
12s, they keep rolling, if I'm not mistaken. We've just seen more.
Yes, we have. They're all using. These are the modified Musudan TELs that North Korea imported from Belarus that they have a limited number of, but they're using them to carry the Hwasong 12. Here we have the Hwasong 15.
Counting the transporters of this is really important. We've all been speculating there could be an increase here.
Right.
Looks like 4 so far. Ankit?
I see 4.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't really think. I don't think they have production capability for vehicles of this size yet. These vehicles which we're seeing are massive 9-axle vehicles. They're based on a Chinese transporter-erector launcher, which they imported somewhere in the previous decade, and I think they only have like 8 of them.
I believe 6.
Something like that. At least them.
Yeah, they were imported from China with falsified end-user licensing for forestry applications in North Korea. But of course, forestry turned out to be a different kind of activity in the end.
Yeah.
But these are heavily modified. I think I see 4. We haven't gotten a good shot that lets us assess the full line.
So yeah, that means they haven't figured out the mass production of these transporter-erector launchers as Kim Jong Un was hoping for, it seems.
They may have mobile erector launchers that are towed. There does appear to be something behind the Hwasong 15.
That does seem to be a new type of long-range missile.
Yeah, remember, we're all looking for a new strategic weapon, as Kim Jong Un hinted at in December 2019. So
people look like they're anticipating something, and here it comes.
Yeah.
Okay, so these do use the same transporters, but they are new missiles.
That's a much larger missile.
Yeah,
and 4 of them.
9 on my first. I thought I counted 9 axles, but the cap is new. Of course, they do that every time to accommodate the warhead of the missile. Yeah. Oh no, it's 10 axle. Wait, is it? It's 11 axle.
11 axle. That's
wow.
huge.
These are absolutely massive. These are the largest road mobile ICBMs, I think, to have ever been built, presumably.
Largest road mobile liquid fuel missile, certainly. That does appear to be a liquid propellant-based system. An enlarged or extended Hwasong 15, it appears.
Yeah, these are absolutely massive. And I wouldn't really hazard to guess on whether these are still modified Chinese transporter erector launchers, or whether they actually did manage to produce them themselves at this point.
It actually appears that it might be based on the Maz Musudan TEL that's been extended and merged with another one, which is an interesting possibility. But again, this is a very early assessment. We need to look at these pictures much more closely.
Yeah, I think you can see by the wheel caps on these vehicles, you can see which wheels are driven and which are not, and that's how we could clearly figure out that the previous Hwasong 15 TELs were based on the Chinese chassis, and I'm seeing a similar pattern here. Some of these wheel caps seem indented, and that seems consistent with like the WS 51200.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in focusing on the system itself, I haven't been keeping count of the actual number of TELs we've seen so far, but I counted 4 of both the Hwasong 15 and this